Dramatic video shows police surrounding this home, all to seize evidence to try to solve the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur. It aired on TMZ on Fox 5, showing the moments police served the search warrant at a home. Fox 5 has obtained those documents showing what police were looking for.
Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you for opening that door. Come on out with your hands up and your hands empty, please.
In video aired on TMZ on Fox 5, police honed in on this home off I-11 and Wagon Wheel, commanding the people inside to get out.
Come on, walk out. Walk towards this Bearcat.
Police with a heavy presence outside the home, and according to the audio, officers brought a Bearcat, a vehicle typically used by SWAT. A warrant says this is the home of now 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, known as Keefy D or Keef D, who spoke publicly about witnessing the murder of Tupac Shakur 26 years ago.
Put your hands up. Keep your hands up, man.
The warrant says Metro Police wants evidence of the identity or motive of the perpetrator. Photographs, undeveloped film, insurance policies, letters, telephone records, diaries. The list of items seized includes laptops, cell phones, tablets, hard drives, 2 black tubs of photographs, copies of the book Compton Street Legend, and anything concerning the murder of Tupac and Davis's involvement with the Compton Southside Crips. Davis told the interviewer he knows the shooter, but won't give up the name because of street code. He's also the uncle of prime suspect Orlando Anderson. Earlier that evening at the MGM Grand, police say Anderson got in a fight with Suge Knight and Tupac. Anderson denied all involvement. He died in a shootout in 1998.
Well, Keefy D is essentially the last man standing in the conspiracy to murder Tupac.
This week, TMZ interviewed former LAPD detective Greg Kading, who worked on the murder case, and says police struck a deal with Keefy and couldn't prosecute him. But when he started speaking publicly, Kading says it's likely that a deal is now out the window.
He's the only person that is alive today that can be prosecuted for the direct involvement in Tupac's murder.
Metro Police is not commenting on any details of the case. So why now? Kading tells TMZ Metro Police might have been working on this case for years, and they may finally have enough evidence to try to prosecute someone.